Hi, and welcome to vlog number 19 on my journey to hopefully achieve a double bodyweight squat at what will be at that point age 43. So, for those who haven't joined us, that's my goal. Having never even been close to doing it, it was a bit of a personal challenge of mine to try and achieve something and then kind of log how I've gone about doing it. So, this week's topic is going to be about kind of on the theme of consistency, but looking at body composition and diet and some of those issues I've been having of late. So, one thing I'm going to talk about today is kind of how I've applied some principles of consistency and habits and all those things to diet and lifestyle, and to not focus on the actual strength training as much. So, last week's topic was kind of suggesting that my body weight was kind of getting higher and higher and higher. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing if you're just trying to get stronger and you're putting on lean muscle. But if you're trying to squat double your own body weight, every pound you increase, or every kilogram you increase, that's 2 kilos you have to squat. And the goal is to squat less, not to squat more. Hit double body weight, but try and make that double body weight as low as it possibly can be. So, body weight going up wasn't really on the cards. So, had a bit of a taking stock and going back to what I set out and what my plan at the beginning was to do. And I've moved away from that for 1,000 reasons: diet, lifestyle, habits, stress. You can throw everything you want at it, but ultimately just not followed through on that plan. So let's just have a just recap on what my plan was, and I'll talk about kind of how I've gotten back to that this week and what the effects have been. So what I can see here is the kind of principles I've set out that I want to achieve. So around about 2,400 calories a day. So my kind of basic metabolic rate will be around about the 2,200 mark. So just a little bit above that. Trying to hit above 200 grams of protein a day. So it's around about the 2.1 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body mass. So those people who haven't seen anything to do with the nutritional literature, if you have a high protein content in your diet and you're trying to lose weight, that's the best way to maintain muscle mass, having that high protein content. So that's the thinking behind that. I've gone with intermittent fasting, and there's some people have strong opinions very much for or against it, or I don't see it's needed or anything like that. But in the past, when I've done it quite well, I find it works for me, and there's a number of reasons for that. I think physically, mentally, I feel better for having that kind of gastric rest, that having that kind of period where you don't eat. I think digestively it makes me feel better, so I think there's a benefit of that. And the other thing as well is it kind of calms down how many calories I can eat in a day if there's a cut-off, because I could graze all night if I wanted to. So having said that kind of mental break, saying, nope, I'm not going to eat past a certain time, that kind of seems to work for me. And obviously you've got the life, busy days, doing different things. It means that if you're only eating in that certain window, it does kind of limit your kind of calorie intake. So I think that's the kind of the big strength of it for me. And the other thing was no gluten. I don't respond well to gluten. I'm not celiac or allergic, anything up to that extreme, but it just doesn't seem to work well for me. It makes me feel poorly, gastric distress, tiredness, just generally kind of worse. And obviously that detracts away from my training. So I've not had any gluten since February now, and I feel infinitely better for that. So they're the principles I set myself to, and I've actually held myself to account for that for the last 10 days, and I've stuck to those principles, and it works well. And it isn't easy, because not the world doesn't live by those that nutritional principles, and I've got a 3-year-old who definitely doesn't live by those principles. But yep, I've done for 10 days, stuck to them. So if I think about then moving on to, well, what impact has that had? There we go. I'll just expand this a little bit so you can see. Well, you can see there, this right hand side of the graph is obviously the most recent data. And you can see there that my body mass was increasing, which wasn't good, and certainly kind of going in the wrong direction. And I've had peaks and troughs along the way, and it certainly hasn't gone down significantly since I've started. But it was on the rise. So that point starts where I started the intermittent fasting and the kind of calorie restrictions. And the pleasing thing is you can see straight away there they've had a decline, but I've lost a kilo in about a week. And he's kind of plateaued there, and that's okay. I've had an instant response, which is what I needed. And if I maintain those principles, he should start to slowly and surely kind of inch its way down a little bit further. But that's total weight. But I've already mentioned it's about body composition as well. That's the thing I really want to be able to get on top of. So this graph is where I look at muscle mass, fat mass, and total mass, and see what's playing around there. So this is taken by a bioelectrical impedance just before I start training. So that top yellow line is muscle mass, the bottom grey line is fat mass, and then the middle kind of orangey brownish line, I think, again I'm colourblind, so apologies if it's wrong, is my body mass. And the body mass is done on the left hand side axis, and then the other two, fat mass and muscle mass, on the right hand side axis. So the thing, if you look right at the very, very far end, you can see there that the total mass has gone down. Again, that's good, that's what I was hoping to achieve. But the more concerning thing is there seems to be a slight incline in fat mass and a decline in muscle mass, which is completely the opposite of what I wanted to see. And again, the dietary principles were guided towards having the opposite effect. So that's not a trend that I would like to see. But it has only been a week, so let's see how that pans out. And these are kind of lab quality pieces of kit, so we might have some issues in terms of measurement. So I'll track that over the next couple of weeks, and hopefully that will pan out, and it'll be just a slight blip in the data. So how has that affected physical performance? Now, I haven't done another load velocity profile because I've only just recently done that, so I don't want to kind of lose too much from training. But if I look at peak power or relative peak power from my jump testing, that might give me some indication as well. So here on the right hand side, just a kind of quick note, to the left of this dotted line is what I used and I measured using the push device, and then after this kind of vertical dotted line I'll be using output, and they do measure relative peak power slightly differently. So as you can see, there's a dramatic increase in relative peak power after the pusher's output's being used. So there is some kind of maybe some kind of glitch in the data there. We can't necessarily compare the left and right side of that dotted line against each other, but you can compare everything that happens after the dotted line against each other's data point. So we've seen a real significant trend upwards there in terms of relative peak power. So even using output alone, I can see that relative peak power has gone up. So that's really, really positive in the fact that as body mass is coming down, ideally I've produced the same amount of absolute power, but because I'm weighing less and less, I've been able to translate that into greater relative peak power. So that's power per kilo of body weight. So performance has gotten better. But I've yet to see that in terms of squatting, because I haven't tested that in a squat yet. So really pleasing signs at the moment. Some concerns regarding making sure that the actual way that I'm losing a mass is in the way that I want it to be, as in we're increasing muscle mass or maintaining muscle mass and losing fat mass. But the power seems to be responding to the fact that I have a lighter mass, and that would make me think that it's increased muscle mass rather than decreased muscle mass. But we'll see over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully I can keep this kind of consistency in diet going and consistency in training going, and I'll start to see some improvements in physical performance and body composition as well. So again, the moral of the story is have a plan. Make sure the plan is well thought out, as I think mine is. But no good having a great plan if you don't stick to it and have some consistency and routine. So that's what I've seen for the last 7 to 10 days. You start to see some effects. Keep on going. Hopefully it'll have even more effects over the next 2 to 3 months. So thank you for listening, and speak to you soon.